This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for Wednesday, August 21st. I'm Ephraim Graham. We begin this hour with a new survey showing economists see a recession coming, but not now. Still, the trade war with China and new problems in Europe could drag down the global economy. And the president is talking about tax cuts. Dale Hurd is on the story.
With speculation that a recession is on the horizon, the Trump administration maintains the economy is strong. But the White House itself seems to be acknowledging the possibility of a downturn. A new Politico report says Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney told Trump supporters at a weekend fundraiser that if a recession is coming, it will be moderate and short. In a sign the White House is concerned, officials are reportedly looking at a range of tax cuts, from the corporate tax rate to capital gains to a payroll tax cut.
Payroll tax is something that we think about, and a lot of people would like to see that, and that very much affects the workers of our country, and we have a lot of workers.
Although a White House official disavowed the plan. A majority of economists believe a slowdown is coming. They just can't agree on when.
I don't think we're in a recession. I don't think we're close to recession, but I do think the economy is slowing down. And personally, I think the trade policy is damaging both the U.S. directly and a lot of expectations about where the world economy and the U.S. economy are headed.
Even the president seems to acknowledge the possibility of recession, saying if his trade war with China causes a short pain, it's for long-term gain, and that somebody had to have the guts to do it.
Whether it's good for our country or bad for our country short term, long term, it's imperative that somebody does this. I am doing this whether it's good or bad for your statement about, oh, will we fall into a recession for 2 months, okay? The fact is somebody had to take China on. And the smart people say thank you very much. And the dumb people have no idea.
Meanwhile, Europe's problems continue to mount. Italy's government collapsed Tuesday. And some believe there's a chance that a right-wing, Trump-loving, EU-hating populist named Matteo Salvini could be the next prime minister at a time when Italy is economically fragile. Economic powerhouse Germany is facing a recession. And in London, Boris Johnson again pledged that Britain is leaving the EU by the end of October no matter what. And the British media, most of which opposes Brexit, has been cooking up all kinds of economic nightmare scenarios. But it's not at all clear just how chaotic a so-called hard Brexit might be. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
President Trump is calling for new action when it comes to gun control, but he appears to be moving his support from expanded background checks to red flag laws. Amber Strong has a look at what they would do and the potential fight to get a bill through Congress.
With the president's apparent back and forth on expanding background checks, so-called red flag laws may be the only measure capable of reaching his desk. And he isn't alone in his support. According to a new poll from NPR, 77% of Americans support red flag laws when initiated by the person's family. That includes 70% of Republicans. Red flag laws, or extreme risk protection orders, allow police or family members to go to court requesting guns be temporarily taken away from people seen as a threat to themselves or others. 16 states, including the District of Columbia, already have some form of the law on the books.
People have to remember, however, that there is a mental illness problem. It's not the gun that pulls the trigger. It's the person holding the gun.
While Jim Granados of the American Psychological Association supports the laws, he adds mental health and violent behavior aren't necessarily connected.
The issue of gun violence is complex. We know that the best predictor of violence is past violence. And so putting mental illness as a cause of the problem is inaccurate and simplistic.
Regardless, critics maintain the laws violate both the Second Amendment and the right to due process, such as this tweet from Congressman Jim Jordan. The problem with red flag laws is you're guilty until proven innocent. Now, Senators Richard Blumenthal and Lindsey Graham have bills encouraging states to adopt red flag laws. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says red flag laws alone are a cop-out, setting up a dicey battle when Congress returns here to Washington in September. Amber Strong, CBN News, Washington.
A former Google employee says he has proof showing Google's political bias. Zachary Voorhees told the investigative organization Project Veritas that while working at Google, he found thousands of documents showing it blacklists conservative and Christian websites. He's delivered them to Antitrust Division of the Justice Department. Robert Epstein, the former editor of Psychology Today, says he has studied Google since 2016, and his research shows they can shift the voting preferences of undecided voters by 20% or more.
In 2020, you can bet that all of these companies are going to go all out, and the methods that they're using are invisible, they're subliminal, they're more powerful than most any effects I've ever seen in the behavioral sciences, and I've been in the behavioral sciences for almost 40 years.
Epstein is calling for Congress to begin large-scale monitoring of search results to prevent an unfairly influenced election. Now, former Miss Nevada State Katie Jo Williams says she was stripped of her title and removed from the national pageant because of her conservative views.
I am so tired of being labeled as this crazy right-wing, whatever you want to call it, when I'm not. So it's getting to that point where I just don't understand how you can censor someone with conservative values when I'm not even really saying anything that's bad. The couple screenshots she sent me was of me in my Trump 2020 hat. A couple of my posts that said, I love America, I'm against Antifa. So I'm sorry if that offended people, but I didn't understand.
Williams is a U.S. combat veteran, holds the rank of Sergeant First Class in the U.S. Army National Guard, and is a Trump supporter. And she says she isn't going to change her views or remove them from social media for the pageant. You can find this full story at cbnnews.com. A global call to prayer has been issued for a Hillsong worship leader who was admitted to the hospital following a brain aneurysm. Chelsea Taylor appeared to get sick after leading worship Sunday. She was rushed to the hospital where she underwent a 9-hour brain surgery to deal with the brain bleed. Hillsong Worship took to Instagram asking for prayer for the singer, saying, "We are believing for no more bleeds, complete healing, and miracles in Jesus' name." His resurrection power and hope to earth. Coming up, how a former transgender man is working to reclaim the biblical message of the rainbow. Stay with us.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
Administering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
For more than 40 years, the LGBT community has used the rainbow as a symbol of its movement. In the Bible, it's written God created the rainbow as a covenant with mankind, and one former transgender is on a mission to take it back. Charlene Aaron has the story.
For 20 years, Nicole Collins lived as a lesbian and drug dealer. After a brutal attack, she became a Christian and now stands up for God and her faith. She went by the name Esco in the clubs and streets of LA, where she was known for partying and violence.
My breaking point was as I was living as a transgender lesbian drug dealer in Los Angeles, I was attacked by a man from behind with a hammer. And all glory to God, miraculously, I suffered no injury. And so I tell people that God literally used that to knock some sense into me.
While surrendering her life to God, she admits leaving her old lifestyle was not easy.
It took me 7 months to come out of men's clothes. I didn't just jump in a dress right away and, my hair was bald. And so all my hair has grown back today, but I didn't always feel so beautiful. I felt very awkward, but as I submitted myself to God, he began to beautify me with salvation.
After breaking free, Collins says God gave her a mandate to restore the biblical standing of the rainbow, which the gay rights movement claims as its symbol.
I saw a hand coming through the clouds clutching a rainbow, and I saw an inscription in those clouds that said, "Take back the rainbow." And I jumped up and began to sketch it out.
The rainbow is mentioned in Genesis chapter 9 as a promise to Noah after the great flood. And God said, "This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth." Collins uses inspirational quotes and designs in her Christian clothing line as a reminder of God's word.
We as Christians, we can't be afraid to wear it. God's a very colorful, creative personality that has given us the liberty to walk in the vocation wherewith he's called us.
Her biblical stance has clashed with many in the gay community.
A lot of verbal attacks through social media. I have a page called Overcoming Homosexuality, and I've got a lot of people saying I need to overcome judgment and just spewing all types of venom, putting gay porn and things like that up on my page. And so I know that they're not happy.
Despite the backlash, Collins remains determined while spreading the message of God's love along the way.
I think it's very important for the church to become educated and partner with people such as myself and those who have testimonies of deliverance to come in and show them how to express the love of God without compromise, and to let people know that God loves them right where they're at, and he's able to change them from the inside out.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Still ahead, we're looking at young people struggling with depression more than you can imagine.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
The much talked about millennial generation finds itself in a never-ending virtual competition, constantly connecting on social media and struggling at alarming levels with anxiety and depression. Caitlin Burke found the church is uniquely equipped to respond to the crisis.
Jordan Flores was in high school when she first started to feel anxious. She didn't like who she saw when she looked in the mirror. By college, anxiety became full-blown depression, fueled by what she saw on social media.
I followed a lot of health and fitness accounts, and through that, they just are constantly feeding you what you're supposed to look like, what you're supposed to be like, how you're supposed to dress, all of those different things, what you're supposed to be eating. And I let that kind of control my own lifestyle.
That resulted in an eating disorder.
I hated myself at that point. And at the moment, I wouldn't have been able to recognize myself. Physically, I looked a little bit the same, but I wasn't happy. I was not able to connect with people. I had severe anxiety when it came to even going out to dinner with people. I wasn't able to do that anymore. Every part of my life revolved around my mental illness, and I was unable to actually see that.
Millennials in Massachusetts have the highest rate of depression in the entire U.S., specifically millennial women.
But why? Neil Hubacker of the Massachusetts Family Institute believes it's linked to how his state has dealt with religion and the family.
When we've deconstructed things so much, we've created a whole generation that wonders, who am I and whose am I and where am I going?
Hubacker also points out that this depression is greatest where many of the country's top universities are located.
It seems like in our exaltation of the mind, or in our exaltation of the human, the self, at the expense of not worshiping God anymore. Think of Romans 1 and what Paul describes in Romans 1. In that, I think that there is something at work here. There's something spiritual at play.
In dealing with this challenge, Boston area pastors also see generational factors at play. One is the desire or pressure to achieve more than their peers. While Pastor Adam Mabry sees it with his congregation, he first saw it in himself.
In about late 2013, our church was growing quickly. We had a new baby that wasn't sleeping well. I had a house that I was remodeling and a degree I was trying to finish. And up to that point, I'd always been able to just push past my problems with more achievement, put in a few more hours, and we'll kind of get over them. I was not able to push past those problems, and I sort of hit a wall and went into a pretty deep depressive state for a while.
Mabry knew he needed rest, but realized he had to first learn that discipline. That led him to write a book called The Art of Rest.
One of the things that came out of that experience, and one of the things the Lord taught me, was that rest is how I experienced joy in Him, not just doing things for Him, but stopping to be with Him.
Millennials' need for success is exacerbated by the ability to follow their peers 24/7.
Being able to see one another achieve things and see one another do or not doing things created this more intense achievement arms race.
That's where Jordan Flores found herself.
Society expects people to be a certain way, and so there was always that feeling of I'm not good enough, I need to be different, I need to change myself.
She was unable to break free until turning to God.
It wasn't until I actually came to church and I joined our young adult group and I made connections with people that really cared for me and really wanted to see me healthier that I started to actually have change in my life.
Mabry says that's the church's strength, wading into the hard topics, the pain, and the mess.
The Christian church should be a hospital for sinners, and what unites us isn't that we're all great people and we look great. What unites us is that we're all in desperate need of God's grace and mercy.
Jordan and her husband Marco now lead the youth group at Metro Church in Marlborough, Massachusetts. She says her depression fight opened a door to reach the upcoming generation, 70% of whom already say depression and anxiety is a huge problem.
We can't get rid of technology. It is part of our life. It is part of our world. However, community can help kind of shape how we use our social media. It can shape how we interact with each other, how we're using it. And so I think that the key is being around people that are just going to be able to love on you and show you life.
Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Boston, Massachusetts.
Coming up, there is nothing like the story of a man and his dog. We're going to take a closer look at one playing in theaters right now and how it's tugging on the heartstrings across America.
Give me that. Bye. Sure, life is busy, but I found a way to make a huge difference in people's lives. I guess you could say I'm changing the world right here from home. I bring medical supplies and doctors to people in need, and dig wells so that villagers can have clean and safe water to drink. I make it possible to preach the gospel in over 100 countries, including right here in America. And when disaster strikes, I'm there, providing food, thank you, and emergency supplies to give people hope again. Every day, CBN and I are making the world a better place. Here you go. My life is hectic, so I joined CBN through Pledge Express. My bank does all the work, and I know that my gift is being used where it's needed most. So become a CBN partner and join Pledge Express, because you can do a world of good right from where you are. Hi, good morning. Are you ready to get started?
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
It was a best-selling novel, and now it's a major movie. Actor Patrick Dempsey put on his producing hat to bring the art of racing in the rain to the big screen. It's a heartfelt tale told through the eyes of a philosophical dog who sounds a lot like Kevin Costner.
He picked me out of a pile of pups, a tangled mass of paws and tails. He'd stopped at the farm on his way home from the speedway at Yakima.
Hey.
Even back then, I knew I was different than other dogs. My soul just felt more human.
This one.
And so begins the storybook bond of a man, a race car driver, and his dog, Denny and Enzo, in the film The Art of Racing in the Rain.
And so I had my first glimpse at the rest of my life.
The book stayed on the bestsellers list for a long time, translated into almost 40 different languages. Intimidating to come and try and bring something that people love so dearly to the screen?
Yeah, I'd say that was something to bear in mind. But on the other hand, you think, well, people love this story, so hopefully they'll love the film if we do a decent job.
Simon Curtis directs the film. Mark Bombach is the screenwriter.
It is a story about a person who's an athlete who's pursuing this very, very, very difficult dream, which is to race at the highest level. And he winds up falling in love and starting a family. The dog was almost functioning like a guardian angel, or like God, that there's this presence in the room that loves you more than you love yourself. And that was probably the thing on the emotional front that really grabbed me.
Enzo, this is Eve.
Hi, Enzo. How you doing?
My first impression of Eve was as complicated as the scents in the air.
Not really much of a dog person.
A melange of produce, shampoo, and pheromones.
Well, he's more person than dog.
Milo Ventimiglia and Amanda Seyfried play the roles of Denny and Eve. What is it about this story for both of you that made you decide to do it and it feels like you love it?
Oh, it's got everything. I mean,
yeah.
I want to be happy in life. I really, truly want to laugh, and I really want to cry, and I want to feel alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go to the movies and have that entire experience. I need it.
Yeah. I think the reminder of the human element, told through the lens of a dog that just so desperately wants to be the best possible version of a human in his next life.
Heartbreaking.
It's so heartbreaking, but it's inspiring because here's a dog that isn't a person, but wants to be the best version of one. I think that's inspiring to all of us that are people to say, hey, wait a minute, we can be a better version of ourselves.
Yeah.
Anytime that you can.
I just have to get in here. Pick it up, hold it.
You've met the actors Amanda and Milo, but the real star of the film is this guy, Butler, one of 2 dogs who brings the character of Enzo to life, and he does such a great job. What do you say for yourself? Good dog.
They were married at a magnificent palace with its very own ocean. The kind of place I had assumed only existed on television. I tried my best to be helpful. I minded my manners, resisted snacking on the trays of exquisite appetizers, and made sure to do my business in the flower bed farthest from the festivities.
Your character, Denny, faces a lot. Why doesn't he break?
There is no choice. Yeah, I think Gary Cole had a line in the movie, I can't get it right, but basically was, Denny asks him, he says, what if I don't succeed? I think Gary Cole responds something along the lines of like, you know, you gotta show up. I don't ruin that moment. But there is no other option. There is no other option, especially when it comes to his family, to his wife, to his daughter. No, you have to be the best version of yourself you can be. Responsibility, but also honor and duty and all of that to your family.
Right there. He's been down almost a full lap this whole stint. It's not about who's got the heavier foot, it's about feel. Denny was the first to make the call to switch to rain tires. Hey, what's this? Reminds me what they used to say about Santa. When it rains, it doesn't rain on him.
And you can get much more entertainment news tonight on Studio 5. It's right here on the CBN News Channel. It begins at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is masterpiece. You are God's masterpiece, a one-of-a-kind creation with a call and purpose only you can fulfill. With that word, make today a wonderful Wednesday. That is going to do it for this first edition of CBN Newswatch. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us, newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Make it a wonderful Wednesday, everybody. We'll see you right back here same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless you.